Okay, what I've got for you today is a project that I started quite some time ago, and it's waiting for more to be done on it. And I think once I'm finished with the marina and at least have the bulkheads on the keel of the Pilar, I will start looking at continuing this. Now this is a small stern trawler called Shirley Ann. This comes from Model Boat Magazine. November 1988. And this was, I think, primarily designed for people that were going to order the ABS hull. So everything that they've got in this article uses the ABS hull, but they do give that, and of course the plans. Now the plans are pretty large and I won't roll them out here. I'll post photos of that at some stage. And I remember when I was looking at this magazine a long time ago, and the fact that it came with the plan, that I really liked the look of this little trawler. And my motivation was enough at that time to decide that I would tackle this as a planked hull. And that's what I did. But the plans that are given, this, you'll notice there is 3/4 inch to the foot, which makes it, I think, 16th scale. And I scaled it up to 1/12 scale. So this guy from one of the Tamiya sets, I can't remember. It must be one of the Formula One sets, I'm guessing, from long ago. And any other 1/12 scale figures that I can get can fit into this build quite nicely. So it is a small boat. I'm not sure what the crew would have been. The crew might have been 2, maximum 3. And I can also use the odd 1/12 scale odds that I find and I feel are relevant to putting onto the ship, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so let me run you through what I've done here, and there's some interesting things here. This is just a very quick mock-up that I did long ago. It's falling apart now for the cabin, and I'll do a better mock-up before I actually start working on a proper cabin. So this uses pretty thick plank, and it's a very, very nice solid hull. You won't break this easily. And at the time when I was trying to decide what I would use, it was fairly obvious that the plank style for the smaller boats like the Marina was not going to be what I need. And I found these. Can you tell what this is? You might have seen them. This is slats, window slats. And it's about 2 millimeters thick, this. And I don't know what wood it is, but there were a lot of these available, and it's a very good wood. Very nice and straight. It's somewhat of a hardwood, and yet with steaming and wetting can be bent quite nicely. So I went and I did band sawing on this so that I could get 2 long strips per length of slat and multiple short strips. So I cut myself a whole bunch, and this was next to free. People were sort of selling or even giving away the stuff as they changed the either the curtains, the whatever they were covering with, and they had these in their house, and very easy to obtain. So that solved that problem. Took a lot of bandsaw work to get my planks right, but I did it, and I used quite a thick, I'll just show you this. I used quite a thick plywood. This is actually, it's not high quality plywood, but it's a good 7 to 7.5 millimeter. And now, as I've sort of shown you now, a feature of this build is removable upper sections of bulkhead, and I might as well speak about that now, because then we can take them off. So the initial planking is done up to deck level, but the sides of this trawler come up somewhat higher than I'll just show that picture again, than the deck level. So it's got this quite deep section at the back there. So I've planked up to there, and then I need to fit in the deck, and then I need to plank some more. But the part that gets planked above the deck level doesn't have these thick bulkheads. What it does have is very thin bits, which are really just cosmetic. So stage one was getting to the point where all of this was planked up to that level. Quite a lot of planking, and quite a lot of work to get that all right. I'm very happy with the result there. Now, as you can see in the light, I have fiberglassed, and I have sealed and ensured that that is absolutely solid and good in there. You're not going to be getting any leaks from there. I mean, you might get a bit of a leak from the shaft, and by greasing and of course the rudder shaft as well, we'll make sure that that won't happen. But it's really protected, and it has ensured, and I'm glad I did it at that point, because it's ensured that over the many years that this has now stood, that nothing would have happened to it. It wouldn't have you wouldn't have had planks deciding to let go or change their shape or warp due to weather. In fact, probably the fact that it's had many summers and winters and wet seasons and dry seasons to simply stand like this has probably eased all of the planks stresses, and I've got a very nice hole now. So the front 1, 2, 3 bulkheads do come up above, because the cabin fits in there, and then we've got this deck which basically starts over there. So I had to figure out a solution to be able to plank above the deck level, have something very good, in other words the upper sections of the bulkheads to plank against. And so I came up with this removable bulkhead method. So those will need to be fixed well into place with screws or something, while I then plank, steaming and wetting and curving and ensuring that I'm planking in such a way that we're not gluing to bulkheads. We are just getting a very nice side of the boat. Now that is sort of the easiest curves. I mean, there's no complex curves at that point. A little bit more tricky around the front, but still mostly it's a flat curve. I'll have to do something interesting around the stern here so that those planks can attach very nicely here. I put on a plastic former, which I then planked on the outside. That was a little bit of a ad hoc thing. Obviously that's not proper style planking. This is probably Well, yeah, not probably. This is getting painted, so that didn't matter at all. This was also my first dabbling with fiberglass and resin, and obviously the quality that I've got inside here was good enough for a boat. So there's sections where you'll see I've got quite thick, and you can see wetting, which you wouldn't at all do on an aeroplane, but this served very well for the boat. And I learned a lot from doing the fiberglassing on this. Since that time I've done quite a lot of other fiberglassing and I've learned a lot, but I'm actually quite happy with what happened here on this build at the time. So from these initial bulkheads templates that they supplied, obviously made copies, scaled them up, did sort of trials to see what I thought. I verified them all with those triangulation methods that I've spoken about. I then decided how thick and what sort of bracing I would need, where the cutoff would be for the upper section. I think it took quite long to do this, but I got a very, very nice hole in the end, very strong. I have since put wood filler on some of the areas. I think my thought at that stage was that this would not get fiberglassed on the outside. I think I was of the opinion that on the inside was good enough, and I would varnish and paint the outside. I've changed my mind on that. I am going to fiberglass the outside. So there is some filling work and prep to be done before fiberglassing will happen. But in any case, that wasn't going to happen before I have my planking all complete. So we will be doing fiberglassing on that model when the time comes. A very spacious hull. So we've got more than enough displacement. We've got space for all the radio gear, and in fact, I'm even going to do a scale looking engine over the electric motor so that it looks like a little bit of a V8 in there, even if it didn't use a V8. That's okay. Now I will point out one of the things that I was talking about in the planking video, and that is that you can see that I had chosen a good line from the keel. I was doing planking from the keel, and then I decided to use the opportunity that this plank would lie very well if I allowed it to go up to there with steaming and wetting and so on, rather than using those planks. I mean, I'm not sure if I would follow the same now, probably would, but it does demonstrate that aspect that I was talking about, where you end up with these V-shaped, which is somewhat indicative of beginner planking, if you want. It's not a nice looking line by any means. It's functional and it's sturdy because I have it fiberglassed on the inside, and the wood is thick enough. It's got enough touching area so that each time I was gluing, it was no hassle to get that to stay there. and with it getting fiberglassed on the outside, same thing, it's going to be completely solid, protected. So that gives you a bit of an idea of that area. The amount of filler that is in here is not very significant at all. Here and there, a couple of the planks have little imperfections that need filling to get it all nice and even. But the point that I've got it to at the moment is definitely well over the hump of the project. The most difficult parts all done. The places where the project was going to fail, if at all, was certainly past. So this amount of planking that's left is by far the easiest. I hardly need to do much more on the inside here. I do have the shaft somewhere, I must take that out. So the engine mount, a little bit more varnishing. I see that on the top surfaces of the bulkheads I haven't varnished, well, varnished or resined. So I probably could do that on the bulkheads. Give a bit of a wood strengthening at the back here at the stern, and I need to get the cabin sorted so that I know it's going to fit in properly, and then we can get to the planking of this. So yeah, once the marina's done, and once the Escampavia Pilar bulkheads and keel are sort of established and set aside, so what I might do is, lay a plank there, and while that's drying, have a look at doing a plank on this one and alternate like that between the two. I would have to get my head back into this build, study the plans again, check at what all tasks are left. It's not significant. It's not a boat with a ton of stuff on it. So we've got some railings at the front. We have got rods, we've got a mast, and some fishing boxes. I do have those water outlet holes at deck level. So yeah, it looks like quite a nice project. I'm glad I did choose this one, and I think it'll be a quite nice one to follow. More next time.